Alright you guys, thank you for clicking on the video today. If you haven't seen part 1 to this video, I'll put a card up here, you can go click it and check it out. This is going to be part 2 of the stage 3 tuning through the series video. In the last video we installed all the components required for stage 3, which was turbo inlet, TGV deletes, and fuel system. So that was fuel injectors and fuel rails and fuel lines, and a fuel pressure regulator. And then I also installed a turbo inlet and an air oil separator while I was in there. But the primary things were the fuel system, TGV deletes, and the turbo inlet. And then we also have a flex fuel computer, so we'll be able to tune it on ethanol and get a lot of power from that. So in this video, I'm going to start tuning the car. There shouldn't be anything that really needs to be changed, but we'll find out. I'll show you guys the base tune and see what needs to be changed. We're going to get the car tuned, and then we will do virtual dyno for 91 and ethanol. And then we will take it to the drag strip and see what kind of times it can put down. So if that interests you, stay tuned and let's get into the video. The base tune for this stage 3 is pretty simple. Not a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if it's going to need some MAF scaling or anything, but we're going to find out. For the base tune, all we're going to do is disable some check engine lights, change this injector information. First thing we're going to go ahead and change is the injector information. So you can find this information on your injector manufacturer's website. I already did that, but it's easier for me to just pull it from one of my old tune files. Okay, so right here on the right side, this is the information for the Dishworks 1200cc injectors, and this is the stock information. So I'm just going to copy this over. Injector's good. Any other changes that need to be made to adjust the fueling are going to be done in the MAF scaling. The next step is to just disable some of the codes that may pop up. So evap codes, those are all going to popping up. So we're going to select all of these one at a time. We'll go through, and I think if I press the bracket key, yeah, that toggles it. Okay. So all the evap stuff is taken care of. TGV stuff needs to be taken care of. So now we can flash this on the car, check the fuel pressure, make sure nothing's leaking, and then we can start it up and see how everything's working. Alright, so I had a really bad fuel leak, but it was one of my AN fittings that went bad. So it was leaking from like the swivel part of the 90. So I went ahead and replaced the line. I flashed the new tune onto the ECU, and it starts up, but I'll show you. I just started it real quick. You can see fuel pressure sensor, 36 PSI. No leaks. It was leaking from this fitting, but I put a new one on, so we're all good. So let's start it up, see what she's running like. So boost gauge is looking good, so I don't think I have any vacuum leaks. I also just replaced the boost pressure sensor. Alright, I'm going to bleed this real quick and I'll be back. So I'm not going to be going into detail on tuning in this video, but I just wanted to tell you kind of briefly what I did and what I changed. The stage 4 tuning series videos, it's going to be multiple videos, and I'm going to break it up by like different categories of tuning. If you are interested in like a very detailed tuning video specifically, those videos will be coming shortly, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when I drop those videos. But for this video, I'm just going to briefly go over what I changed. There wasn't much to do. You've seen I disabled some check engine codes, and I changed the injector scaling and latency for the new injectors. Once I drove the car, I found that it was running a little bit lean and that it was adding like 5% fuel in the cruising areas, most likely caused by the TGVs and the turbo inlet, like freeing up some airflow, so it needed to add a little bit more fuel. So I just made those corrections in the MAF scaling, and then the idle was also in a different range than it was on stage 2, so I just needed to adjust the airflow for those new ranges as well. So it was about 12% lean at idle, so I just changed that real quick. The wide open throttle MAF scaling was perfect still, so that was good. And that was it for the 91 stage 3. and then switching it over to E70, all I did was put like 4 to 5 degrees of timing in the wide open throttle area of the graph, and I did virtual dyno to kind of work my way up, and I added like 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, and then once I hit peak torque, and like I added another degree and it went down, then I went back to where I was and I left it there. So that ended up being 4 to 5 degrees. So I did already make a MAF scaling video, so I'll put a card up here to that MAF scaling video so you can go check that out. For the stage 4 video, I'll be making a new MAF scaling tuning video because I have like a new method that I use for it, so I'll show you guys that as well. So stay tuned for those. Just skip the tuning, make it very brief. Now we're going to go talk about the virtual dyno results. Stage 2 virtual dyno. This is the graph for it. And then we got stage 3 virtual dyno. Very similar graphs here, except the stage 3 just has this kind of weird jump. But if you kind of ignore that and just drag the lines across, you can see no real power difference between stage 2 and stage 3. This is just like run-to-run variation, I would chalk it up to be. That being said, this graph's a little easier to look at. Power, about the same. Maybe a little bit more power up at the top end, just because a little more airflow, I guess. But other than that, pretty much identical. No huge gains. Let's compare that to our stage 3 E70 tune, which is the main reason we did stage 3, is because we were making it possible to run on ethanol. So by adding the flex fuel computer and the bigger fuel system, that's where we're going to get we're not going to get our power from the better fuel system, but it's going to allow us to run ethanol, which is where we're going to get our power from. So these two graphs show that having the stage 3 and stage 2 being pretty much the same, you're not going to get power from those fuel systems alone, but it's going to let you run ethanol, which is where you're going to get your power, which I'll show you right now. This is the power we made on ethanol in red. So you can see basically the curve shifted up quite a bit. So on 91 we were at 250 wheel horsepower and 260 foot-pounds of torque about, and on ethanol we made 290 wheel horsepower and 314 foot-pounds of torque. So we're up 55 foot-pounds of torque and 40 wheel horsepower from switching to ethanol and adjusting the timing. So that's where you get your power from stage 3, is being able to switch to ethanol. Those are big gains from just using a different fuel source. So, and that's going to set us up for the next stage as well, where we'll be able to make percentage wise the same increase between stage 4 91 and stage 4 ethanol. Alright guys, we are out at Verona drag strip. We are doing the stage 3 ethanol drag strip runs. As the car sits right now on stage 3 tuned on E70, we're making 300 wheel horsepower and 314 foot-pounds of torque. So last time out here we were running like around like 930s to 940s was our like faster times. So this time I'm expecting, if we're gonna run a really good pass, we're probably gonna run like 850. That's gonna be like a really good pass. So I think most of our passes are gonna be around 870, 880 maybe. So let's see. I'm gonna go run a test pass right now, make sure everything's good, and then we'll start racing for time.
He's going to be a 991 at 74.5 miles per hour.
99 second hard. Didn't want to go into second. I don't know why. That's a bummer. Still ran a 990 with me like missing second gear pretty much. The synchros just weren't meshing, I guess. I beat that car actually. Hopefully that was in the 8s. I really want to get into the 8s today at least. So we'll see. Oh wow, 890. Quite the improvements I was looking for. Shifted that one nice and slow so it was smooth and didn't grind, but the pass felt kind of sluggish. The car was definitely hot because it was just sitting there idling because they're having a lot of track issues today. So we'll see what that one looked like. 950, yeah, it's not doing good today. The car is not knocking through the, wide open throttle range, but it is detecting knock on the two-step. And now hitting rev limiter and stuff like that, it makes the engine think it's knocking, but it actually isn't. False knock that it's picking up, but it's triggering the feedback knock correction protocol. And the maximum, what my computer was set to for maximum correction, is that it can pull out negative 12 degrees of timing, which is a lot of timing to pull out. So like I'm probably launching on like 200 horsepower, and then I'm not even getting full power till the end of the track. So that's really fucking up my times. So what I did was I made a drag tune where I made it so that I didn't completely disable it, but I made it so that the maximum correction it can do is -2. So I'm gonna give it another shot and see, without it pulling the timing, how good it can do. So I'm hoping this will be a lot better run because it's just gonna send it with the power. It's not gonna pull a bunch of timing out right at the get-go. So I'm excited for this one.
Here we go in the Subaru. And we're gonna run out those lanes again. This is our last chance to get in the staging lane. We'll be looking for one more pass before night's end. Again, we open again.
was only a 931. Oh my God. I don't know what to say. All right, we are back out at Verona Drags. Attempt 2 at racing the Stage 3 ethanol Subaru tune. So last time wasn't able to get very many passes to feel the car out, and the car was like pulling 12 degrees of timing on the launches, so, and I wasn't getting that timing back until like the end of the strip, so we were launching on very low power. And then I turned off the knock correction and then tried to make another pass at the end of the night. It was my last pass I was able to make, and weren't getting full boost for some reason. I think it might have been because I just flashed it over or something. So before I left the house today, I flashed over the drag tune with the knock detection turned off. I also, in the meantime, I got the anti-lag wired backed in. So if I need a little more juice off the line, I got the anti-lag button to use. But we're gonna try not to use that because it's not good on journal bearing turbos. So I like to save that for when we get the Blausch back on there. But if I need it today, I will use it. But hopefully we'll have a lot better luck this time. I know it is capable of an 850 at least. So if I can get a good launch, good shifts, I think we can get it. The launch is going to be the hardest part because this clutch does not launch as good as the old clutch did, because it's organic clutch material instead of the Kevlar material.
With an 818.
I launched that one with a little bit of anti-lag, so we'll see if that helped. Ooh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. 888, something I wasn't able to do last time, so I think we can go another go, and I think we'll get something a little better. It's just it's so hard to launch this car now with this new clutch. It doesn't grab as hard, but that was a pretty good pass. Pretty good pass. Halfway down the track, so I'm hoping that was nothing bad. It was like right when I shifted. So we ran a 9.0 flat. Disable the fine learning correction, so it still is pulling timing, and I can kind of feel when it's pulling and then kicking back in. So we're still not perfectly dialed in. Still needs some work. Yeah, so it was a 930. I could tell it was pulling timing. Not much I can do right now. I got a lot of figuring out to do with this fucking car. It's just such a bitch to drag race this thing now. It just doesn't want to cooperate with me. It's not a drag car. It used to be decent at drag racing, with the old setup, with the old clutch setup, and now it just fucking sucks.
So to recap drag racing for stage 3 on ethanol, as you could probably tell in the video, I'm very frustrated with this drag racing day, or the 2 days that I was drag racing. And that's kind of a combination of things, but stage 2 went really well. And I was having no issues getting the car down the track, you know, with the exception of the launches being a little not good. But I think the most frustrating part for me this time was that my previous personal record with this car was this like pretty much exact same setup, stage 3 ethanol, and I ran an 849, and that was with the 5-speed. I think just like the final drive gearing difference, it's making these times slower than it was with the 5-speed, because the 5-speed had a 4.44 to 1 final drive. This car has this transmission has a 3.9 to 1 final drive. So the 5-speed had a better gearing for the drag strip. So I'm seeing slower times with the same tune packages basically. But in the moment, I didn't realize that. So the times that I was getting were actually better than stage 2. I just wasn't satisfied. So that's that. Also, the pulling of timing is something that I've always dealt with, and my personal best times were when it didn't pull timing for whatever reason. So going forward, that's something that I'm addressing. So I'm disabling the knock correction strategy while I'm on the track, and I disabled the feedback knock correction because I thought if it was disabled that the fine knock correction wouldn't work either, but it turns out you have to disable both of them. So going forward, I'm disabling the feedback and the fine learning knock correction, so there will be no knock detection and no knock correction. So that should keep it from pulling time. It's still going to be a pain to launch. The 5-speed was definitely easier to launch. Overlooking all that stuff and my frustration, for stage 2, our fastest pass was a 9:31, and our average time was a 9:41. And then for stage 3 on ethanol, for day 1, our average was 9:10, and for day 2, our average was 9:02. And another thing was, when I was out racing, there was a lot of issues with the track, so the car was getting pretty badly heat soaked because people's cars kept breaking on the track, or they kept oiling down the track, so it was shutting down. I was stuck in the staging lanes or whatever. And day 2 was even worse. I thought the second day would be better, but there was more people, and then there was more track shutdowns. So I was only able to get 4 passes on day 2, and I was there from 5 to 11. So pretty bad. 1 pass an hour is terrible. So nothing was really working out for me. But nonetheless, day 1 average 9:10. Day 2 average 9:02. A little better. So our best pass was an 8:88 on day 2. Pretty good increase over stage 2. If you include the fastest pass and the average pass, the car was 4/10 faster down the 8th mile on stage 3 with ethanol, which is a significant gain basically for just switching out the fuel sources or the fuel types. So stage 3 is a success, even though my attitude may not seem like it in the video, but it did work out. Switching to ethanol is definitely a great way to get easy power, even though there's just so many variables with this car on the drag strip, and me being able to get it to do what I want it to do. So not the most scientific way of testing these different stages and stuff. If it was an automatic, it would probably be a little bit better, a little more consistent, but the factor of launching and shifting and all that stuff just makes for a lot of variability. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please leave a like down below. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. If you know of somebody who might like this video, please share it with them. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Stay tuned for stage 4 videos. There's going to be tuning, very in-depth stage 4 tuning videos. So if you're interested in those, make sure you hit the bell icon so you get notified when those videos get dropped. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.